Do you ever feel like you're just floating through life, but not actually getting closer to the person that you want to be? It usually happens around New Year's. You imagine all the bad habits you're going to break free from, and all the good habits you will begin. This time will be different, you say to yourself. This time I am going to do the things that I say I will. Only to end up back where you began shortly after, and no closer to what you had envisaged. So the question is, how do you break free from bad habits and make the habits you desire easier and automatic? Atomic Habits by James Clear answers all these questions. We're going to be doing a fast-paced, detailed summary of the book and dive deep into topics like habit loops, dopamine spikes, priming your environment, plus heaps more. And make sure you stick around until the end of the video where I go through step by step how I'm personally using this book to improve my own habits. I hope this summary inspires you to go out and grab a copy of the book for yourself, because this book deserves a space on everyone's bookshelf. Let's jump into it. Imagine a plane taking off and traveling from New York to Los Angeles. Just before takeoff, you adjust the plane just slightly by 3 degrees or around 80 inches. If you were to keep flying in a straight line, you would end up closer to Tijuana in Mexico than in your intended destination of Los Angeles. And the same goes for our habits. Tiny changes in our habits can change the trajectory of our lives in ways that we can't even notice until many years into the future looking back, in both good ways and bad. You are your habits. The power of atomic habits. A slight change in your daily habits can guide your life to a very different destination. Massive action versus 1% improvements. Far too often we convince ourselves that massive success is only possible through massive action in any goal we are pursuing. We expect ourselves to make some quantum leap or momentous improvement that will gain others' attention. However, it is the tiny improvements that aren't even noticeable at first that create incredible change. Let's look deeper into the math. 1% better every day for a year will compound to 37 times better, but 1% worse every day over a year will bring you close to zero. Your habits can compound against you in the form of things like stress or negative self-talk, or they can compound for you in the form of things like knowledge, productivity, skills, and relationships. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. The truth about progress. When you start any endeavor in your life, here is what you think should happen: linear progress. But here is what actually happens. Notice this section here in the beginning. Small changes in our progress are not even noticeable. James Clear refers to this part of the graph as the valley of disappointment. You've done so much, you've put in so much effort, and you can barely see any results. This is where most people fail and slip back into their old routines. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed, so patience is required. Goals versus systems. Forget about goals, focus on systems instead. A goal is the result you want to accomplish. Systems deal with processes that lead to the results. The conventional wisdom suggests that the best way to achieve anything we want in life, be it getting into better shape, building a successful business, or spending more time with family, is to set specific, realistic goals. But if you completely ignored your goals and focused only on your systems, would you still succeed? The author of this book argues that you would. Here are some problems with only having goals. Successful and unsuccessful people share the same goals, so therefore the goal cannot be what differentiates winners from losers. Achieving a goal only changes your life for that moment in time. Goals can create an either-or conflict. Either you achieve the goal and succeed, or you don't and you're a failure, even if you are making progress in the right direction. When you achieve a goal, what do you do after? If your goal was running the local marathon, chances are after completing it, your motivation will quickly fade and you will just slip back into your old routines. Goals are good for setting a direction, but systems are best for making progress. A system of atomic habits. The problem with changing your habits is not you. The reason why you repeat the same bad habits for so long isn't because you don't want to change, but because you have the wrong system for change. Atomic habits are small routines and behaviors that accumulate to produce incremental positive outcomes over time. Big breakthroughs tend to get more attention than small improvements, but what really matters are the little daily decisions and actions we take. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. There are 3 layers to behavior change. The first layer is changing outcomes, the result. Losing that weight, writing that book, or winning the season. The outcomes are what you get. The second layer is changing your process, what you do. the new workout routine, or developing a daily reading habit. And the third layer is changing your identity, what you believe, your worldviews, and how you think about yourself and others. Most people focus on the outcomes, but the best way to change your habits is by focusing on the person you want to become instead of the results that you want. The goal isn't to learn an instrument, it's to become a musician. The goal isn't to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. When something you want in your life becomes part of your identity, that is when your behaviors will start to naturally change. When you tell yourself and others, "I'm a runner," you want to live up to that identity. Remind yourself, every time you do a workout, you are an athlete. Every time you write a line of code, you are a programmer. And each time you instruct your team, you are a leader. The habit loop. A habit is when something becomes repeated enough times that it becomes automatic. Ultimately, we want our habits to solve problems in our lives with the least amount of effort. A habit is formed and reinforced by means of a continuous feedback loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. The key to creating habits that stick is to create feedback loops that are continuously being improved. Cue, phone buzz. Craving, want to know who messaged. Response, pick up the phone. Reward, solve the problem of who messaged. Cue, mind goes blank at work. Craving, want to alleviate the frustration. Response, check social media. Reward, satisfy the need to feel less frustrated. Over time, rewards become associated with cues. So in this example, checking social media becomes tied to your mind going blank at work. And then checking Facebook may be the cue to check Instagram, which becomes the cue to watch YouTube. And before you know it, your mind going blank cue has led to 20 minutes of wasted time. And the more you repeat these habit loops, the stronger and more automatic they become. Cues can really be anything: a smell, a sound, a sight, a person, a location. Try to think of any cues in your daily life that are initiating your good or bad habit loops. So how can we influence the habit loop to work for us? This book shows us the 4 laws that will guide us to do just that. Law 1. Make it obvious. Most of your current habits are so automatic that you don't even realize them. You must first become aware of your habits before you can change them. You can achieve that with your habit scorecard. Write down all your daily behaviors on a habit scorecard, from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed. Your scorecard may look something like this. Based on whether it helps you become the person you aspire to be, categorize each habit as positive, negative, or neutral. At this stage, we aren't trying to change anything, but just observe what is actually going on in our daily lives. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Vagueness is a real problem when it comes to habit formation. And studies have shown that quite often the reason people fail to stick to a habit is not because of a lack of motivation, but because of a lack of clarity. "One day I will get into shape" is easy to say to yourself, but too vague to get any momentum. What you need is a time and a place. The most common cues, time and location, will help you achieve your goals. Clearly state your intention to act using the following formula. I will behavior at time in this location. Here is a bad example. I will read more this month. Here is a good example. I will read a book for 15 minutes daily at 6 a.m. in the spare bedroom. Another good way to get a habit started is by habit stacking. To stack habits, tie a desired habit to an existing habit according to the following formula. After current habit, I will new habit. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will stretch for 5 minutes. You can stack habits together. For example, after you finish brushing your teeth, you will meditate for 10 minutes and then plan the rest of your day before checking social media. A chain of habits is more likely to be sustained if you practice this consistently. Choosing the correct trigger is essential. You need a trigger cue. Your trigger should be something that you do automatically without fail during your day, such as waking up, turning off your alarm, or brushing your teeth. James Clear tells us in the book that motivation is highly overrated. You can better shape your behavior by designing your environment. We are more influenced by our environment than our willpower or motivation. It's hard to stick with positive habits in a negative environment. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior. Creating a habit requires you to redesign the space around you to 1. Make it easier to see the cues for the desired habits, and 2. Avert bad habits by making them invisible. If you want to drink more water, make the cues visible and obvious. Place water bottles around the house in places you are likely to see them. Want to read more? Place the book somewhere where you'll see it. And if you want to get better on guitar, don't leave it out of sight in the closet. Context is the cue. Objects in the environment do not determine our behavior, rather it is our relationship to them that does. Stop seeing your environment as a place simply filled with objects. Imagine it as a place filled with relationships. The couch in the living room is the place where one person reads an hour a night. For another, the couch is where they watch Netflix and eat pizza and relax after work. If your relationship with the couch is a place to relax, then trying to get a work-related task done in that environment may be difficult. Try to make separate zones in your house for different activities. The author likes to use the mantra, one space, one use. If you're trying to eliminate a bad habit, you can only rely on self-control in the short term. Cutting off bad habits at the source is a more reliable solution, and one of the most practical ways to eliminate a bad habit is to make it invisible. Eliminate it from your environment. For example, put your phone in another room for a few hours if you have trouble getting work done. Or put junk food out of sight or remove it from your house if you're trying to lose weight. Law 2. Make it attractive. When we expect to be rewarded, we take action. The more rewarding an action is, the more likely we are to repeat it until it becomes a habit. Hence, the first step to forming good habits is to make them more attractive. Understanding how dopamine affects your body will help you. Dopamine. Our motivation levels are affected by dopamine, a hormone and neurotransmitter. We are more motivated to act when our dopamine levels rise. By measuring dopamine, scientists can pinpoint the exact moment at which craving occurs. It was once assumed that dopamine was just about pleasure, but now we know it's vital to many neurological functions, including motivation, memory, learning, punishment, as well as voluntary movement. The hormone dopamine is released not only when we experience pleasure, but also when we anticipate it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bet, not after they win. Let's dive deeper into dopamine spikes. Using social media, eating junk food, and taking drugs are all associated with high levels of dopamine and are highly habit-forming. Think about before going on a vacation. Sometimes the thinking and anticipation of the vacation is better than the actual vacation. Seeing the junk food you desire surges dopamine, not after eating it. Drug addicts increase dopamine when they see the drugs, not after taking them. The craving is what causes us to take action in the first place. Making our habits attractive is vital because it is the expectation of a rewarding experience that drives us to act. Here you can use a strategy known as temptation bundling. The temptation bundling process makes a habit more attractive by combining an action we need to do with one that we want to do. For example, you could bundle watching Netflix, something you want to do, with working out, something you need to do. Temptation bundling applies a psychology principle known as Premack's principle. Developed by Professor David Premack, the Premack principle states, more probable behaviors will reinforce less probable behaviors. In other words, even if you're not looking forward to doing some exercise, you become conditioned to do it because you get to do something else you really enjoy. Group influence. We are continually wondering, what will others think of me, and altering our behavior based on the answer. We are influenced by the people closest to us and the groups that we belong to. If you're trying to build a good habit, one of the best ways to reinforce the habit is to find and become part of a culture where that habit is the norm. If you want to get into better shape, surround yourself with fit people. If you want to read more, join a book club. Primal motivators, the source of cravings. In your normal everyday life, you wouldn't say something to yourself like, I want to eat pizza because I need to consume this food to survive. Surface level cravings are merely manifestations of our deeper underlying motives. And these underlying motives guide our behavior. Here are some examples from the book of underlying motives. Conserving energy, obtaining food and water, finding love and reproducing, connecting and bonding with others, winning social acceptance and approval, reducing uncertainty, achieving status and prestige. Your brain did not evolve with a desire to smoke cigarettes, check Instagram every 5 minutes, or to play video games. Online platforms and products do not invent new motivations, but rather appeal to the underlying motives of human nature that we already have to gain our attention. Your habits are modern-day solutions to ancient desires, new versions of old vices. The underlying motives behind human behavior remain the same. People who have the underlying motive of connecting with others may jump onto Facebook. Others seeking the underlying motive of finding love and reproducing may sign up for Tinder. If you want to reduce uncertainty, there's Google for that. And seeking social acceptance, there's Instagram. Reprogramming your brain to enjoy hard habits. You can make hard habits more attractive if you can learn to associate them with a positive experience. By highlighting the benefits of a habit rather than its downsides, you can quickly reprogram your mind and make it seem more appealing. For example, fitness equals health and well-being and not fatigue. Cleaning the house, an environment conducive to peace of mind and not wasted time. Saving money, future financial freedom and not sacrifice. Make it unattractive. To break a bad habit, do the same but highlight the benefits of not doing that habit to make it as unattractive to keep doing as possible. Law 3. Make it easy.